The recording begins in an oddly quiet way, showing nothing but a dog standing at the bottom of the stairs. But it isn't a normal kind of quiet. It's that heavy, suffocating silence that feels like a warning. The dog doesn't bark, doesn't move, doesn't climb. It simply stares up toward the top of the staircase as if someone were standing there. Someone the camera can't capture, but the dog can clearly sense. The owner starts filming, thinking the dog is just scared. But the moment she frames the scene more clearly, something strange happens. At the top of the stairs, a balloon begins to move, and it's not a natural motion caused by a breeze. It's quick, sudden, almost as if it were pushed by an invisible hand. The dog immediately backs away, confirming that this movement wasn't a coincidence. The balloon then stops moving, suddenly, as if whatever was touching it had simply retreated back into the darkness. But the dog keeps staring upward, as if its eyes are still following something that maybe should never have been filmed. And when the video ends, only one question remains. What was that dog seeing that we didn't? The recording begins like any other nighttime exploration. A narrow hallway lit only by a weak flashlight, where the silence is so deep it feels heavy on the chest. The peeling walls swallow the light, and the distant sound of something dripping echoes as if it's coming from every direction at once. Within the first few seconds, you can already feel that this place isn't empty. His breath catches, the flashlight trembles, and the hallway itself seems to stretch, as if trying to push him out. The figure, however, doesn't run, it doesn't approach, it doesn't vanish. It simply shrinks, as if it were folding itself into the darkness until nothing remains but an absolute void, a void that wasn't there before. The recording seems absolutely ordinary, a simple camera set up in the corner of a small bedroom. A woman sits on the bed, adjusting something while the baby sleeps in the crib. Nothing unusual at all, but that's exactly what makes the video so disturbing, because the horror begins precisely when everything looks a little too normal. The feeling is one of presence, something that entered the room without asking permission, without making a sound, yet completely changed the behavior of both of them. The woman stays there, motionless, as if silently responding to something no one else can perceive. And when the video ends, you're left with the unmistakable impression that the room was never empty, not for a single second. The recording seems absolutely ordinary, a simple camera set up in the corner of a small bedroom. A woman sits on the bed, adjusting something while the baby sleeps in the crib. Nothing unusual at all, but that's exactly what makes the video so disturbing, because the horror begins precisely when everything looks a little too normal. This video was recorded inside the victim's own home. She was simply organizing a few things in a makeshift room. Nothing unusual at all. There was no one behind her, no shadows, no noises, nothing. Just a force that appears and disappears within seconds. And to this day, no one has been able to explain what actually pulled that woman inside her own house. Everything seemed normal when the resident decided to film his new house. An empty, quiet home until something appeared in the hallway. A motionless figure covered by a cloth, completely still, as if it were waiting for someone. At first, he thought it was just a shadow, but the closer he walked, the clearer it became that the shape was unmistakably human. The camera shakes, the silence deepens, and when he turns the corner to get a closer look, the figure simply vanishes. No footsteps, no sound, no trace. Only an empty space, and the unsettling feeling that whatever it was, either was never there at all, or is still there. After that, the resident played the footage back in slow motion, trying desperately to find a logical explanation. But what makes it even worse is that the figure doesn't blink, doesn't breathe. It simply appears, as if it were posing for the camera. Specialists who analyze the video say the texture of the figure doesn't look like fabric. It looks like skin. And the most unsettling detail, the height. The figure is taller than anyone who has ever lived in that house. To this day, no one knows what was captured, only that from that moment on, the hallway was never silent again. In the middle of the night, the owner of the house heard soft footsteps in the hallway and assumed it was just the wind or the old wooden floor shifting. But when he grabbed his phone to record, he noticed a shadow standing still in the doorway. At first, it looked far too tall, far too thin, like someone silently watching him. But after a few seconds, two small reflections appeared in the darkness. He zoomed in, and that's when he realized the figure was actually his cat, completely motionless, staring into the room with an expression that didn't look normal at all. The strangest part? The owner swears the cat had been asleep in another room just moments earlier. How it appeared there, and why it stood so still, no one knows.